Hi everyone. So I have been asking myself a question that many of you may have actually been asking yourselves, which is, can AI do our jobs now? And as you can see through the iterations of the brackets, I have mixed feelings about this. I'm not actually sure if AI can do my job, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not. I'm not even sure if my job should exist in the future. So genuinely, this is not like a rhetorical bit. Like, I would love it if people could help me answer these questions. So let's get into it. The best way to describe my journey is that I have been unable to quit Twitter. Like, even though it's just like a fire hose of slop coming at you all the time, I'm addicted to it still, and it's like exposure therapy for all the crap that we've got in the world. And so the best way to describe this journey that I'm in on is I was triggered. I was triggered by maybe not this specific post, but posts very much like it, which is like, how can we, in like one really shitty, Twitter article, how can we just sort of condense an entire profession's worth of work, all of the knowledge that we've developed over the years, into just 8 simple prompts that will save you a couple $100 for doing UX research. And it made me think, like, what is actually UX research? Like, why do we do it? Why does it exist? And I have been thinking about this, and I think it's a discipline that's popped up as a way of us getting some understanding about, the people who use the products that we want to make or do make. So it's really just, it's not a goal in itself. I don't think the world should have UX researchers. I think that UX research is just a way for us to gain understanding. And what is understanding, actually? Like, how do we get there? And before we can understand, we have to do things. We have to do some thinking. And before we do some thinking, we have to do some doing. We have to talk to some people, and we have to get some data to think about. And before we do that, we have to also do some necessary evil admin. So all of this is kind of my mental model of what UX research is. And you can't, in my opinion, you just can't outsource thinking. You can't, you can outsource thinking, you can't outsource understanding. So there's all the things that we do as part of UX research that I think are really ripe for outsourcing. But the one thing that it's meant to do is to give us a sense of understanding. And we just can't, you just can't cheat that, because understanding is not something that is written down, it's something that is inside of you. So I've gone way too far, so before we get further, my name is Billie-Mae, or May. Just don't call me Billy, because I had a dog called Billy, and it just triggers me, like a lot of other things do. And I'm not really like a UX researcher, like I am, but I'm also all these other things. And I'm just like what they call, like throw into a thing and I'll do it. I really care about social justice. I really care about equality. And I have spent my entire career working on government change specifically. But I do a lot of research, and I do a lot of service design, and I do a lot of yapping. And I'm really more like Jason Bourne, that scene where he's got like all the passports. That's what it's like literally in my drawer. I have all of these like passes from different government departments that I haven't returned yet. So that's me. And I am both an AI doomer and an AI maker. If I don't look that great, it's because I have been up all night and worrying, but also making and having a great time with AI. So, can AI do my job now? Well, I think the answer is sort of, because what is the job of UX research? As I said before, a lot of it is setup, so logistics, admin. I hate this part so much. I'm really bad at it. The only good thing is that I've made so many mistakes in setting up research that I know all of the things that I have to do, because I've fucked it up at some point. I really love doing research. I love talking to people. I don't really like surveys very much, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening when you have to do research. It's not just talking. You have to take notes, for God's sake, and you have to smile a lot, and you have to nod your head, and I'm pretty good at most of that stuff. And then the thinking is where it really gets fun, because that's when we connect dots and we make themes and we add things up and we do analysis. And all of that then gets us towards, hopefully, a sense of understanding that is instilled within us, yes, but hopefully it is so embedded in ourselves that we can spread it to other people. And that is the goal of UX research. All of this stuff, though, we can find repetitive. As I said, I find most of it really tedious, if I'm honest. It's expensive. It takes people to do this. It can be difficult also to do this kind of stuff. You have to sit there and look at Post-it notes all the time. That's hard. But also it's abstract. And so sometimes the worst thing that can be leveled, I think, at UX research is that it doesn't actually tell you anything. Or it doesn't do anything. It just exists for itself. And so that is, I think, the criticism that I take to heart the most. But luckily, AI is here to solve all of our problems. There are so many things that we can draw upon now that we didn't used to have before that can help us in all of these parts of the journey. And I'll take you through just some of those options. So I've kind of lumped them into sort of 3 different groups. The first is like the research software as a service. So these are things that have fantastic tools that have formed over time because of people like myself using them and having particular software needs. Then there's the inside tools, so the things that are just like non-consensually added to all of the tools that you already use, like Miro, for God's sake, and also, Copilot. And then there's agents, and we all love agents. So I'll start with the research SaaS. These are an endangered species, in my opinion, just like a lot of SaaS. But they're great because they are built for research. They have thoughtful features that you can use as researchers. But I find that they're often too bespoke to a specific mental model. And I'm not sure if they are fully equipped to deal with the changes that are coming in how we do research and how we do software and how we design things for people. They are also expensive, or at least they feel expensive because it's yet another subscription. Then we have the inside tools. So like I said, the wonderful Copilot in all its iterations. Notion has AI. Miro is constantly shoving it down your throat. Every time I see that sparkle, I just know I'm going to have a good time. And these are what we call steak knives, right? They just come like free with the purchase. And like maybe you shouldn't have like 50 million steak knives in your drawer. Maybe you just need a butter knife. And I'm a big fan of butter knives, actually. So the good thing about these guys is they're already there. They're pretty flexible. They have your context. But of course, the problem is that they never use the context. It's so frustrating. They're not as good as the frontier models at all. And it's just like incidental, like accidental use for me. I think these are the highest risk of slop cannons. I have seen an army of public servants with chat-only Copilot, and it's just not great. And as I said, I don't like that it's non-consensual. It feels like it's shoved down my throat. And then finally, it's the agents, so the robot butlers of the world, ultimate flexibility, end-to-end orchestration. We can do wonderful things with them. It is expensive. We're often reinventing wheels. Like I think the first time I fully let loose on Claude, I just discovered how hard it is to actually ship software. Like it was like, oh, I can finally do all these things. It's like, no. So it just turns your designers into devs, and it turns your devs into managers. And I think that's actually not the best thing. So what do I use? I mean, not that anyone cares, but I am pretty into Claude Code. I also use Codex now as well. And I use it for orchestrating all the things that I don't like, which is the admin, reminding me of things. I have ADHD, I really need a lot of reminders, and I've got that all, I've got a harness for myself in place now. I use it for data analysis. I think it's pretty good with that, as long as you understand its limitations. I use it to review itself and me and other agents. And I use it for fast and interactive prototyping and storytelling. That's actually one of the best things about it. I can take insights and turn them into something that I can show my client in a day or two, and it looks amazing. So that's pretty good. sometimes I use other products, such as Optimal Workshop. I think is a great product, but I'm not always using it. I use it mainly if I'm by myself and I don't have other people to talk to, because it's a really great replacement of a team. But I don't need it all the time. I also love Granola if you use it, but I can't often use it on my clients. That's a really great note-taking tool. And of course, I'll use the Teams transcription, which I think is technically AI. But I'll never use the steak knives. I hate using the steak knives. And I never will use synthetic users, and I just don't have the time to say all the reasons why I feel that way right now. Okay, so oops, something happened here. Oh yes, so my message though is like, regardless of what I use all the time, I think it's pretty clear that we should never get attached to any of these tools. Why is that? Well, they're good at different things, right? Like if you put all your eggs in one basket and you only use one thing, then you're missing out on a lot of other cool things. So for example, like as an ADHD person, I think Claude is a lot like an ADHD person. And when I want to talk to someone with ADHD, I'll talk to Claude. But when I want to talk to someone with autism, I go to Codex. And I think they are beautiful things. The other thing is there's a new life-changing hack every week, right? So like I, along with everybody else, seemingly have a second brain in Obsidian, and everything's in Markdown. And then, oh, what do you know this week? All the discourse is like, Markdown is dead, HTML is where everything's at. It's like you can't keep up. And so why even bother? That's a bit nihilistic of me. The last thing is that dollars. So when it comes to this, I think it's pretty well known that a lot of these subscription services are heavily subsidizing our use so that we can get completely addicted to them. And then when it's time to pay their bills, they'll pull the rug out from under us and we will be left with very steep real compute pricing. So it's just important to keep that in mind and start building your own local models, guys. So, okay, I've gone through the reasons why you shouldn't like hitch your horse to any one in particular. So what do we do if we can't like guarantee what we're going to be using or how even we're going to be using it or how much we can afford to use of it? So what I say is you stick to the habits, not the software. So have you ever done one of these things where you punch them and it comes back up? We just have to be more like the clown, guys. So the first thing, so I've got 3 habits. These are so good. They're so good I remembered them. So the first thing is that we've got to crack open the black box. So we've got to have a bit more control. We've got to remove our scar tissue and have some eyes on the prize. Very visceral habits here. So habit 1 is having some data sovereignty, for God's sake. So stop assuming that your agent knows the right things and should have control over them itself. So what I like to do is make sure that I have a very simple, a very discoverable structure, a not overly complicated one, having a proper index and having all of that documented in my Claude MD and my Agents MD. Thank you, Anthropic, for making us have 2 of them. I also use Markdown and Obsidian. I haven't been influenced into HTML yet. And I do that so that I can see what's being written down and the agents can see what's being written down. And that agent interactions, it's like a basic expectation, is that there's no conversation that doesn't get documented and compounded. So every time you learn something, you should be putting that back into your context. I think a lot of people do think that like these LLMs are omniscient, and they really aren't. They have access to a lot of information, but they don't always use it and they don't always know how to connect the dots. So we've got to crack open that black box. The next thing is to say no more and to ruthlessly edit. So I have learned the hard way to nuke my config like every month. So what does that mean? I have a shitload of, sorry, I'm swearing all the time, but I have a lot of skills that I have developed over the last few months, and I have to get rid of them all the time. They wear out pretty quickly. I think they're easy to create, so they should be easy to kill, and you should be constantly thinking about what have I put here that may be tripping me up in the future. If you look at how often Claude Code ships new features, they are constantly changing the harness and constantly changing how they behave. And you may be like accidentally gimping yourself if you just continue with things that you had like 4 or 5 releases ago. So I would say it's pretty good hygiene to do that. I also do the same with conversations. It's one and done for me most of the time. I try not to have multi-turn conversations. I try and have such good documentation that I don't need to have long conversations, and that sort of applies there too. And also just so important, and you probably all know this, but like don't just scan at stuff to see if it's legit. You should be reading what these agents are producing, because as a person who loves words, it just kills me to see AI writing. It is so horrible to read. I think it's disrespectful to get other people to read it because it's unpleasant, unsettling. It doesn't have a soul. Sorry, I'll shut up. But just read it and say no more, say no more. Don't do so much. You know, we don't need to have like 50,000 pages of things. And then the last one is, remember why we do this job. Like, why? Why do we exist? Like, why are we here? But so I have FOMO, obviously. So I'm always like, I need to do more. I need to try this thing. I need to do this. No, I don't. These things are supposed to make my life easier. I don't need to do all of the things that I see on Twitter. And again, avoiding output without purpose. What are we doing? We're creating all this stuff all the time. Who's reading it? Everyone's bookmarking tweets and getting their agents to read them for them. No one's reading anything anymore. And I just have to remind myself that AI is for things that are tedious, repetitive, and measurable. So keep your eyes on the prize. So can AI do my job? Not really, I don't think. I have a few things that I try and keep in mind as I go forward and do stuff with AI, especially as a researcher. The first is to be aware that friction is our friend. Here is this chart, and we can see that, sorry, you can't really see very well, but basically the use of AI tools is probably the most predictive thing of cognitive impairment in a particular task. So if you give someone, if you have them use AI tools, there is actually a price that we're slowly paying on our cognitive performance. And that isn't always offset by things that AI makes easier for us, like what they call cognitive offloading. So we have to embrace the things that are hard, because otherwise we're rotting our brains and turning into idiocracy. So this is like step 1 mindset. Not everything is meant to be easy. Understanding is hard. Understanding is internal, and I can't outsource that. Again, a lot of people in this room probably already know this, but the more that you talk to AI, the more likely it's like inevitable that it will hallucinate. And so this graph at the top here shows you how, first of all, they all hallucinate, even the really good ones. But secondly, the more you talk to them, the more likely it is that they will. So turn 2 is like a second reply. Turn 3, the rates of hallucination go up. And this happens across the board, across models. And then the third thing to be aware of is sycophancy, so sucking up. AIs are trained, and I think it's by design. It's not like an accidental output. They are designed to make us feel like they get us, and that and I think this is rotting our brains. It's turning people like Richard Dawkins into somebody he's one shot by Claude Opus 5.7. I mean, for God's sake, like just wait a few months, maybe it'll get better. But we've trained these things we've asked them to sound meaningful, and when they sound meaningful, we think that they're telling some kind of essential truth, and we just have to keep that bias in mind whenever we talk to them, and even the way that we frame, like, oh, check my work, they want to make you happy. It's trained to make you happy. And the last thing is that AI just simply does not think like us. We should stop thinking of it as a thinking partner. And there's all this research about that. For example, spatial reasoning. Most of them don't have the spatial reasoning of a 7-year-old. So how can we think about it as a synthetic user if they don't even know how to fold a page? Like all of this stuff, like we are physical beings, and they're still not like really understanding the physical environment. There's also a lot of evidence to say that true thematic analysis isn't really happening right now. There's a lot of pattern recognition in terms of AI output, but the actual insights aren't that high quality, and that basically they do need scaffolding and structure from humans to have some meaningful outputs. So getting towards the end now, can AI do my job? It's really complicated. I ask myself, will UX researchers exist in 5 years? Who thinks they will? Oh God, you guys are so much more optimistic than I am. I don't think any of our jobs will exist in 5 years. I don't know if you've seen this awesome tweet, but from now on there are only 4 jobs. You've got the product engineer, vibe coder, slop cannon. You've got the security, infrastructure people. I don't know if there's anyone of those people here. You've got hot people, no. And then you've got grown-ups. And so we just pick a team, guys. That's where we're at from now on. But regardless of what actually happens, will we still use the UX research habits and methods to seek understanding? Because I want to be really clear, I don't think anyone is owed a job title. Like, the job didn't exist 50 years ago. I can't tell my grandma what I do. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's not anymore, but will we still be seeking understanding? And I don't know. Maybe. So there are 4 things that give me hope. The first is that, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, capitalism, like, there is a systemic incentive for us to have products that are designed well with understanding of users. So, like, let's 3 cheers for capitalism. The cognitive offloading effect of AI will help us. So, like, I know I said before that cognitive offloading, which is that we're freed up to do more things because we don't have to think about our appointments being managed or the dog getting walked or whatever. That will make us more thoughtful. I do believe in innate human curiosity and kindness, and that could win out easily, especially if we're freed up. You know, we don't have to do as much admin. And I do think that there is a brewing backlash against the fire hose of slop. Like, I'm so sick of it. I don't know if you guys are so sick of it, but I think it's coming. And what I fear, of course, is that as much as it's good design makes more money, are there bigger systemic incentives to take away our choices entirely and guide us towards opinions and products? I don't know. What if we're already becoming more like AI, as more than half of the internet is already generated by AI, right? Have you noticed how many times people say quiet now? That is my latest bugbear. Everyone says quiet or silent, and that is such an AI-ism. And economic collapse will make all of this irrelevant. So, hey guys, I'm flying to the States on Friday, so wish me luck. So can I imagine a world without UX researchers? Maybe, on that happy note. Thank you, everyone.
Doom of collapse.
Sorry, I thought I was balanced.
It was good, and then the economic collapse.
But yay, capitalism?
Go ask. I had 2 questions.
Yep.
One was around the hallucination point around the likeliness of hallucinations stepping up after turns. Do you know why that is? I've never heard that.
So from what I've read, it's not as though the capabilities or the reasoning of the AI decreases over time. It's just that there is, kind of like people, a bit of a bias towards reaffirming what it already said. And so, like, you know, we all make decisions based on what we have. They start in a direction, and they are basically looking for confirmation bias. It is what I've heard, but I can also send you the paper.
I had another question. Last night I was talking to someone similar to this talk, but project manager, and so I was saying, well, you know, we're kind of replacing developers and designers, but I'm not naive enough to think that I'm a project manager, I'm never getting replaced. And his reply was, well, the client's always going to want the throat to choke and the trust, and you're that guy, so you're probably not going to get replaced. And I think maybe there's something in that understanding of research and confidence that the UX researcher role can bring. So
Yes,
do
yeah.
you think that's a realistic takeaway?
I do. I think it's maybe more the way we slice what the roles are will change. Like, because like devs, I think, are having way more, you know, design and managing responsibilities, and just like how designers are doing more. Like, I just think the lines are blurring and probably will reform along different lines. But you're, I was just going to say, you're absolutely right. Like, I think you know, that great like from 1979 IBM quote, like, because a computer can't be held accountable, it can never make a management decision. I think we're going to see that like learned helplessness of AI continue, and there will always be a need for someone to blame. Is that too much?
Last chance for question. I'm curious if you've seen clients kind of do the equivalent of by researching for names, because like I think since the year 1990, the client has known what they wanted all along.
That's right.
They just blame the developer when they deliver what they asked for. What they knew they wanted from the beginning. Have you seen those kinds of cycles, like where we just did without the UX, here's the artifacts, and like, have you seen that in the real world?
Yeah, I have seen that. I've literally had conversations like exactly like that. And I just always say, like, good luck to them, because it's like, okay, go and do it. But yeah, like especially in the government space, though, like I work for a couple of agencies right now. One of them is pretty like front and center with AI, like pretty progressive, not the one that you'd think. And then another one is like they don't even allow autocomplete in their dev environments because it's AI. And so, yeah, just go and ask me which department to apply for if you would like to escape AI later in Australia.